Hey everyone, Mr. MC here. Today is a replay of the Daily C race that I did early this week with the Toyota Super Formula, and this is on Fuji International Speedway. But anyways, so let's go ahead and get started with the race. So TCS1 for the launch, and early this week I was warned about this turn right here. Let's see why. And yeah, so I get bumped and bumped again, almost get pushed out to the side. Someone else loses it. Yeah, it gets really messy, but I managed to survive it. So I mean, as long as I survive, that's all that matters. So now here is the actual race. So I fell from first place to third, but I mean, they're just ahead of us, so it's not much to worry about. And in this race I also have to worry about the tire and the fuel, since those two modifiers are on. Don't ask me how fast they're burning through, because I can't remember. Then I'm too lazy to check on the actual game itself. So I'm trying to overpass this guy right here, but he's kind of blocking my way, so I end up bumping him a couple of times, kind of just encouraging him to let me pass through, because I want to get back to first place, because that's where I belong. No, seriously. It is a little weird because I also forgot that at the time I was joining this race, it was just before the FIA races. So, which kind of explains why when I entered this lobby, nearly everyone was in the B rank for the driver rating. I was the only A+ person there, since I don't do the FIA races for different reasons. So I'm trying to apply some pressure on him, but he ends up using the overtake feature, which is where you see the light on the back of the car blink. That means that they're using it. But still, I mean, just apply pressure on him, and he ends up messing up that last turn. Kind of just slows down, lets me through. So okay, that was nice and easy. So let's go ahead and focus on first place. Seems like they're about 2 seconds ahead of me, but I mean, we're just at the start of the race. Anything can happen, so I'm not concerned at all. But the thing I want to make sure is that I do a bit of fuel saving here and there, so just short shifting and trying to get some slipstream whenever I can, just to make that small but significant difference. So as we push this turn, he ends up going really wide. You just can't see it right now because of the hill, but you can see right there at the end of the turn that he ended up going wide. So I was starting to suspect that something might be a little odd, but that could just be me, right? So let's go ahead and forward this a little bit just to see what happens next. So here we are about a lap later. Nothing much has happened except for me slowly catching up to him. And here he ends up going really wide again, and he almost loses it. So that gave me a great opportunity to catch up to him. And this is where it gets interesting, because here I'm really catching up to him. So this is where I adjust the fuel mapping to go all the way to lean, so fuel map 6. But as I start to bring it back, I coast, but then I almost missed my brake point. I could have completely overshot it. I mean, I overshot it a little bit, but it could have been much worse. So the gap is now a bit more extended, and that was for my foolish mistake. Again, it could have been much worse, but now I have a bit more work to do. I have to try and see if I can catch up to him a bit quicker now. So this is where I can decide if I want to just try to maintain a steady pace, trying to go alongside with the normal pace that I'm having, which is around 124, mid 124, or if I can try to really push it, but that will come at the cost of more fuel usage and shredding the tires. But here I decide I'm just going to try to keep a good pace, and we're going to go ahead and see what happens. So he ends up going really sharp. There's a bit more towards the optimal race line, but this is where it gets weird, because he goes really wide through that turn. I think I've noticed that in the last couple of laps, where he goes really wide through that turn. I mean, that could be a good way for him to go through that turn, but what makes it weird is that he missed the apex. So it could also be from the tire wear, because at this point the tires are starting to show signs of them being worn. this upcoming turn, so not this one, but the next one, is where I almost goof it up. So let's go ahead and go through this turn in a moment. So normally I'd turn right here and whoop. So I don't know if you saw what happened. So I turned a little too sharply and I tried to correct it just a little bit. And it's a really odd, and I'm going to say a little bit of a dangerous move, because I could have goofed it up more by spinning out of control. But the thing was that I turned a little too early, and if I decided to continue with that turn, I would have ended up going off track, so on the green area, like this one right here, for just a moment, and that could have given me a penalty. That, of course, would have costed me a lot of progress, and that could potentially mean that first place would be in a spot where he can completely get away and doesn't have to push the car at all and just secure a safe win. Okay, so lap 6 is coming up. Our pit end lap is coming soon as well. So one of the things I want to see is where our fuel is. So if you see right here, and this is on first place's view, he has a bit less fuel than I do. So all that fuel saving that I've been doing is starting to pay off. We'll see where exactly we end up in terms of fuel once we pit in, but that's something I just want you to take a look at, because the time in the pit, I mean, even if you, let's say we end up pitting right behind each other and the person behind has a bit more fuel because they were saving fuel, they could potentially spend less time refueling, of course, but that also means that they could end up leaving the pit slightly faster than I do, which means that they could gain a position in the pit lane. So that's something I was considering, because they've been holding their position for quite some time now. So I wanted to see that if by saving some fuel, I might be able to get even closer to first place or even overtake them in the pit lane. So we'll go ahead and fast forward it a little more and see what happens next. Alright, so nearing the end of lap 7, and we're going to go ahead and check how our fuel is doing. And look at this right here. So this is first place, and they barely have any fuel left. I still have just enough fuel to make it to the pit stop, but look what happens here. They go really wide, and then they go off track, but then they're hanging out in the turf too long, and they just completely lose it. So I go ahead and cleanly pass them, and I just start to coast it just to try to save us a tiny bit more fuel. So here we go. We're gonna go ahead and do our pit stop, and look right here. I have 9% of fuel and they have 0%. So they barely made it to the pit stop before they have to go at 50 miles an hour. And because I have a bit more fuel than them, that means I will be spending less time refueling, and I'll be able to exit the pit stop a little sooner than they do, which in terms creates a bigger gap. So we're gonna go ahead and see, first let's see us exit first. I'm gonna go ahead and look back and see when they exit. There you go. So they're exiting the pit stop, and at this point I'm about 3 seconds ahead of them. Alright, and here actually is interesting because the person who's in first place right now hasn't pitted yet. So this is where I actually started wondering, wait, is there a no-stop strategy involved? But I mean, I think at this point they were about 21 seconds ahead of me. I can't remember, especially because the time doesn't tell you. But I'm not too concerned. I'm running on fresh, soft tires, and if they're running on hard tires, and they might be struggling a little bit, especially near the end of the race. But I mean, I'll be having that problem too. But that time where I have the fresh tires, that should give me hopefully enough time to be able to make an attempt to catch up to them. But here they are. They're about to enter the pit lane, or we're going to go ahead and see if they enter the pit lane. And it looks like they do. Yep, they enter the pit stop. They barely had enough fuel left to make it just another lap. And at this point, I'm still about 3 seconds ahead of the person behind me. I'm not even concerned at all. I have some time to play with, so I can either decide to keep pushing it at the pace I'm going, or if I want, I can go a little easier, take it a little safer. Of course, that'll have them catch up to me over time, but if I take it a little safer, I don't have to worry at all about whether if I'm going to take this turn too fast. And this is something I think about every now and then whenever I'm in a C race, especially if there's a gap between me and the person ahead or behind or both. Whether you want to try to stay at a similar pace to maintain consistent times and to have a good idea of where your tire and fuel life will be and when you have to pit. But for this race, I only pitted once. But still a good indicator to know how your tires will be doing, predict how bad they'll get by the end of the race, let's say. I mean, at the end of the first stint, my tires had some signs of wear. I was going a little wide, but they were still in just good enough condition to not have to slow down too much. So if that stint gave me an idea of how this stint will be, then I have a good idea of how I will need to react. At least I hope I do. We'll see it. We'll see it later in this race. Alright, and well, I mean, I'll be honest, nothing else really happens in this race just because I hang out in first place for the last few laps and nothing really happens between second place and I. So I'm going to go ahead and fast forward the video to the finish in a moment. But first, I just want to say, for those who are waiting around for the GR Super GT lap guide, okay, that track, the Tokyo Expressway South Inner Lip, whatever it's called, has been driving me nuts. I've been trying to get a 218, but I'm stuck on very low 219, so I want to give it a try for one more day, see if I can try to get myself into 218 before I just call it quits and make the lap guide, because that track is frustrating. And there's a good chance I'll probably skip that race because that track is more treacherous than Nürburgring Nordschleife. And that's saying something. But anyways, rant aside, let's go ahead and finish the video or the race. Here we go. Final turn on the final lap. And I go a little wide here because the tires are really starting to show signs of wear. But I mean, that's alright because at this point, second place is about 4-ish seconds behind me, so it's nothing to worry about. I just use the overtake just because I can. And yeah, that's it. And yeah, so I just want to say thank you for the support over these past few months. It's just been crazy seeing how much support there's been for the channel and the stuff I make for it. But yeah, I just wanted to say that. And yeah, so hopefully you guys have an awesome week. These next week's daily races are going to be really weird. And if you don't know, daily race C is N100 on Nordschleife. So let's have fun on that track. But anyways, this is Mr. MCA, the world's most okay player, and I'll see you in the next video.